Good evening, everyone. I am Ariana Balayan, the Assistant Dean for Admissions and Recruiting at the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences at UMass Medical School. I'm really excited to welcome you all and share information from multiple perspectives about UMass's NIH Prep Program. We're going to learn all about the basic biomedical sciences and the clinical and population health research tracks today. Before I start, if you would advance the slide, I'll talk about what we're going to expect from today's session. So we will do an overview of the program first. We will then talk about UMass specifically and highlights. We'll go over the application process, do some questions and answers about the application and the program structure. And then we will do some breakouts with student-led breakout sessions. If you would advance the slide, I'll tell you who we have here today. I'm excited to welcome my colleagues, Dr. Kate Payne and Dr. Brian Lewis. They are the program directors for the PrEP program. You'll hear from them shortly. And then we have Myra, Caesar, and Kelly Ann, three wonderful PhD students who came through the PrEP program and will help facilitate in those breakout rooms a little bit later. So we're really proud to have all of my colleagues here today. Quick to the next slide, I'll do the quick program overview. Before I do, we will use that chat box. If you're not familiar with Zoom, click on chat at the bottom of the toolbar to be able to pull up a window. Feel free to type any questions that you have here while we're in the main session. The Q&A that will follow the formal presentation will be specific to the application process and program structure. Any questions about the student experience and other things more appropriate for the student or informal breakout sessions can be asked then. If you need anything, I'll be monitoring that so you can type any questions or comments you might have while we're in this main space. So what is the NIH Prep program? Prep is a one-year program that provides experiences and coursework to strengthen participants' research skills and academic preparedness for graduate degree programs. Our program encourages scholars from underrepresented groups who hold recent baccalaureate degrees to pursue doctorates in biomedical sciences. Prep scholars gain mentored research experiences in labs, take graduate level courses, and participate in professional development activities. So without ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kate Payne to tell you a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Kate. It's really nice to be here with you tonight. I just realized that my dog is in the room, so if you hear a bark, I apologize. I forgot she was so quiet. I forgot she was even there. So I'm really excited to talk to you about PrEP today because it's an awesome program that really helps the emerging scientists get to where they want to go. And so on this slide, I'm showing a high-level overview of our program. So we take scholars with a recent undergraduate degree from groups underrepresented in the biomedical sciences and who have a strong desire to apply to graduate school in the fall of 2021. And really what we're wanting is these students who are interested in strengthening their research portfolio and in having some graduate courses under their belt so that they can get into their doctoral programs of choice. So what we're trying to do is provide that pathway. And how we do it at UMass is really quite amazing. We have such a highly supportive educational environment here. I'll talk to you that a little bit more in the next slides, but we offer rigorous competency-based curriculum that works synergistically with the amazing research enterprise at UMass. So students in our program, they have support from seasoned mentors and as well as their cohort of PrEP scholars. So often it's peer mentors who are helping guide PrEP scholars' decision-making so they get the most of their PrEP year. As well as helping you tailor your PrEP year to align with your goals and your research interests. So all of these elements work in concert to set our PrEP scholars up for success. And the result is outstanding student outcomes. Next slide, please. Thank you. So on this slide, I think you have to press a button for some of the boxes to come up. Great, thank you. Yeah, you can press all four. There are 4 boxes. Great, thanks. So in this slide, we're going to drill down a bit deeper to show you more about the UMass Prep Program approach. So first off, what's unique about UMass is we actually offer two different tracks. We offer the basic biomedical science track and a track for people who want to do clinical and population health research or public health. So basically, common to both prep scholars groups, we have a series of hot topics where we do journal clubs. We have career development planning, which is really important to help you strategize for your career. We have rigor and reproducibility training for our prep scholars. We offer writing workshops and even sessions and advice on how to apply to graduate school, because many of your mentors and the people around and affiliated with the prep program, we sit on the admissions committees for graduate school. So we can give you the inside scoop on what they're looking for and how you can craft your application. We also have educational enhancement offerings that tend to build the strong community of scholars, students who support students, mentors, collaborations with colleagues. We're helping really launch your careers. And we use this team mentoring approach because we believe that it takes a village to create scientists in this day and age. And so, in addition to the prep program leaders, Brian Lewis and myself, you'll have research mentors who are committed to training the next generation of scientists. It's part of their job and they find it to be a privilege. We have faculty advisors who can offer complementary perspectives about your career choices and just another sounding board for you to help figure out your career plan. And lastly, our prep scholars, they have opportunities to publish based on their research. And they also, we have some funds to let our prep scholars attend national science meetings where you can network with other students across the country, learn more about the state of the art science, and also share what you've learned. Next slide, please. So the next two slides, they go over the layout of the program, and I'm going to present a typical clinical and population health research track program, and then I'll turn the reins over to Brian, who can go over what it's like for basic science students. So at UMass, we start on July 1st, and we don't waste any time. The students immediately participate in an intensive, what we call boot camp, which sounds scarier than it is. It's not like a military boot camp. But what it is an integrated course of epidemiology and biostatistics. And it's a primer. So we try to teach you some basic skills that will help you move forward in your research. You also learn statistical computing software that will help you get into the data and start generating some findings. In addition, you'll take city training in human subjects research ethics. You participate in seminars, and we also offer opportunities for students to really get to know the faculty. Those are called Inside the Researcher Studios, where you can say, all right, how did you get to where you are? What was your career trajectory like? So at the heart of this experience, though, is the mentored research project. So our students embark on a year-long journey that often culminates in a peer-reviewed publication and a presentation at a meeting. That's our goal. We want to help you uh, bring your research to light and share it with the scientific community. So we also, other aspects of the program, we tailor based on your interests. So our students in our track typically take additional coursework, and what we try to do is understand, what substantive areas of interest or what methodologic area. And we work with you on that over the summer. So I'm going to pass this over to Brian next, who can talk to you about the basic science curriculum.
Thank you, Kate. So hi, everyone. I'm Brian Lewis. Together with Dr. LaPan, I direct the PrEP program. And you can, from that description, you can see that Dr. LaPan directly oversees the CPHR track, and I directly oversee the BBS track. And together we collaborate on the other programmatic aspects that cover all of our students. So on this slide, we just have our outline of the typical basic biomedical sciences curriculum. Just like on the CPHR track, our students begin at the beginning of July And 2 weeks after they get here, they start in our onboarding course, which is Introduction to Cellular Metabolism and Disease. And the goal of this course primarily is to get our students reading the primary literature, dissecting the literature, and enhancing those scientific writing skills. They're going to be really critical for success in PhD study. In the fall, our students participate in a prep student-only journal club. And this is a team-taught journal club session. We have 8 sessions spread out over 4 months. Each topic is taught by, or each journal club session is led by a faculty member who talks about, something in their research area. So our students, even if they are particularly interested, for example, in neuroscience, will get exposed to bioinformatics, RNA biology, cell cycle cancer biology, and lots of other areas. And then in the spring, our students take one class with our PhD students that's of their choosing and really sort of tailored to their particular curriculum interests. So again, someone who is very interested in neuroscience might take our Introduction to Neuroscience course. Throughout the entire time, our students are in that mentored research experience. So we think really getting started in that intensive mentored research experience is really critical for enhancing research excellence and preparedness, and really sort of lays the foundation for success in graduate study. And then very much like we have on the CPHR track, all of our students receive intensive mentoring from a variety of individuals. So their research mentor serves as a guide. They have an assigned faculty advisor who gives them advice, for example, on what courses to take in the spring, and also ideas, discussions around applying for graduate programs. And then they have a peer mentor who also guides them through this process. So you've heard about what our programs offer, and then many of you may be wondering, well, what happens to our students? And the net result of our trainees is that they typically go to the PhD programs, and in one case, MD PhD program of their choosing. So over 70% of our former prep trainees have entered PhD or MD PhD programs. At this point, 9 of those students have already completed their PhDs, and you can see where they are now, having completed their PhDs, and 17 of our students remain enrolled in either PhD or MD PhD programs. And several of our current prep scholars have already been offered admission into PhD and MD PhD programs as well. So we look forward to their continued advancement and success. And we should also point out, as you'll hear from some of our students who are part of our panel today, that when our former prep trainees go into their PhDs, they also apply for and are very successful in getting their own individual fellowships, whether it be from the NIH, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, or other private foundations. So why UMass Medical School? Why this prep program? So here are just some, there are many reasons. Here are some statistics, and these are all very, very fancy and wonderful sounding. We are a professional school-only campus, so we have students in the Grad School of Biomedical Sciences, our Graduate School of Nursing, and our School of Medicine. We are number 3 in total NIH funding among medical schools in New England. We receive more NIH funding than 20 entire states, and our faculty do really, really outstanding research. So you can see that both from the NIH funding, but you can also see that in terms of the licensing revenue that's attributed to the University of Massachusetts. So our faculty are doing exciting work that is able to be translated into inventions in biotech companies, and lots of our faculty have in fact started their own biotech companies. But I would say that probably more important than that, more important than the numbers, actually has to do with the environment of the institution. and that is it is a really robust research institution, but one that is also highly collegial, highly collaborative, and highly interactive. And that those attributes, we think, make the science that we do and make the educational opportunities that we offer that much greater. So as part of that, our graduate school and our prep are very much invested in the success of our students. And so we have a generous stipend for our prep students. And this is quite generous relative to the cost of living in Worcester, relative to other areas of Massachusetts or the country. Great health, dental, and vision insurance. We've highlighted here the fact that there are 20 academic break days that all of our Oh, I'm sorry. Looks like I was muted there. Thank you. Um, so in case I was muted while I was speaking, just sort of highlighting our stipend, our health and dental benefits. And here we've highlighted the academic break days. And we highlighted this because sort of paying attention to the entire person, the entire individual is really important. And so we emphasize that our students are entitled to these break days and that they should take them. We have several on-campus resources, including, very importantly, our Student Health Center and Student Counseling Center, and an on-campus gym, as well as a Center for Mindfulness here at UMass Medical School. In addition to providing educational opportunities, we also have a fantastic Center for Biomedical Career Development. And the director of that center, our colleague, Dr. Cynthia Furman, actually works very closely with our prep trainees and helps them develop their individual development plans that are really essential for them, for our students, to map out the areas that they need to enhance and develop during their time in prep, and begin to think about where they want to go in terms of next steps of graduate study, but also in terms longer term in terms of their career. And you can see just some of the opportunities that are available through that center on this slide. And then finally, why UMass and why Worcester? So Worcester, for those of you who are out from outside of New England, is the second largest city in New England, besides outside Boston. It has many of the traits that you will see in a larger city, including theaters, museums, cafes, nice restaurants, including many ethnic restaurants, and some really fabulous outdoor spaces and parks. We have many colleges and universities, a very vibrant and diverse population. We have over 70 languages spoken within the city of Worcester. And one of the really things that I really appreciate about Worcester is its geographic location. So, you can be within a small city environment, but within 20 minutes, you can be hiking in fantastic areas, whether it be Purgatory Chasm or in the hills of Mount Wachusett. Within an hour and a half, you can be in Vermont and Maine skiing. You could be at the beach in whether it be on the coast in Massachusetts or in Rhode Island. So within relatively close proximity, there are lots of really fantastic things to do. And so here in the bottom of this slide is probably what is currently the pride of Worcester, the future Polo Park, which is going to be home to our AAA affiliate baseball team, the Woo Sox. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. LaPan to talk about the application process.
Thank you. Although it is a sore spot because your AAA team came from my hometown, so in Rhode Island, but at least I'll get to enjoy some games up in Worcester. So anyways, all right. So what if we've got your attention and you're interested in us, then how do I apply? Like, what's this process? I want to reinforce that the mission of the Graduate School of Biomedical Science is to develop future science leaders. So if that's your trajectory, that's what we do really well. And so, what is it to be eligible for this prep program? So, for the NIH, their guidelines require US citizens or permanent residents. They are looking for students who are members of groups considered underrepresented in the biomedical sciences. And the specific definitions are on the NIH website, but they're looking for people from specific racial and ethnic groups, Blacks or African Americans, Hispanic, Latinos, etc. And um, people who may have disabilities also meet the NIH definition for this program, as well as those from social disadvantaged backgrounds. So those are the three primary groups of people that NIH is interested in funding for this award. More importantly, they're looking for people who recently earned a bachelor's degree, and how they define that is you have to be within 36 months of having completed your um, degree program by July of 2021, and that your goal is to apply to relevant graduate programs in fall of 2021. Okay, the next slide, please. So the application deadline is February 28th in 2021. So it's coming up, and here's what you'll need to apply. Um, the application requires a personal statement, a resume, unofficial transcripts from all your institutions, and those would be once accepted into the program, then you get the official ones. Um, you don't need to have the official ones on application to the program. 3 letters of recommendation are required, and it's an online form within the application that these are gathered. And so what we're looking for those letters of recommendation are from individuals who are able to talk about your past academic experiences or your research performances. Um, so anybody can talk about your prospective success in graduate school. Who um, knows you well enough and knows what your goals are. So we suggest you reach out to the letter writers and tell them a little bit about what this program is and why you want to be in it, so that they can write strong letters for you. We don't require GREs, so that's not a requirement. And as I said before, you only have to get us official transcript or scores only if and when you matriculate as students. Okay, and I think that's it, but next slide. Yeah, we did want to just take a moment to talk about um, how the pandemic has impacted students at UMass, because I'm sure um, all of you have, if you're currently an undergraduate, you've had experienced, issues with or plans derailed by this pandemic. And we actually had a brief ramp down from March to May. The masks, I'm sorry, the labs were opened up very carefully. All of the students now have been offered vaccines, so which is really, really terrific. I will say that for clinical and population health research, because we don't require to be on campus in the labs, that we have been remote. Brian, do you want to add anything from the basic science perspective?
Sure, I can just add briefly in terms of our wet lab operations. Our labs were closed between sort of mid-March and early June of last year. And since then, we have reopened up. But as you can see on the slide, we have within those lab spaces, we have a universal masking requirement, and we also have density reduction measures. So most labs are operating in some combination of shift work or other measures that allow the lab to continue working. So they're not fully staffed typically at any given hour, and that's just to be able to maintain the reduced density that's required by current state regulations. But we are still open and making great progress. I think you're muted, Kate.
Oh, thank you. I thank you, Brian. I didn't know if at this time we wanted, Brian, have you been looking at the chat to answer some of the questions?
Yeah, so I think we have a couple of questions. I think Ariana is going to moderate that for us
Oh,
before
okay,
we go
great.
to the breakouts.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian and Kate. I will spend just a few minutes moderating questions for Brian and Kate before we go into the breakouts. So a couple questions on eligibility. Is it a strict cutoff on 36 months for 36 months from July 21 for this year, for example? For example, if someone graduated May 18, are they disqualified? And if you're not within those 36 months, are you automatically disqualified?
Yes, so unfortunately for the NIH, it is a strict 36 months. We can debate why 36 months when most students get their degrees in May and June, and these programs typically start in July and August. But it is a strict 36 months. So students who will be eligible for admission this year will have received their degrees in summer of 2018 or more recently.
Thank you. And how about whom the NIH determines is eligible in terms of who is an underrepresented minority as defined by the NIH to make them eligible for this program?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. The NIH has a listed set of criteria, and what we can do is actually, while we're in our breakout rooms, we can identify the link to that NIH page, and we can post it in the chat in the breakout room so everyone can have access to that. If there are any questions, you may feel free to email us at prep@umassmed.edu. With questions about eligibility, and we'll get back to you.
The NIH statement on diversity, right, Brian?
That's correct.
I'm going to put that link in the file, in the chat. Also, I put prep@umassmed.edu if you have questions about eligibility. Lastly, about the application process, feel free to type if there are any last questions here for right now about the application process or program structure before the breakout rooms. Does having a certain GPA make you a more competitive candidate? Is there a GPA cutoff? And does having research experience make you a stronger candidate?
Yeah, so I'll speak to those issues with respect to our BBS track students, and then I'm going to have Kate speak to that with respect to the CPHR track students. And so our admissions committee is going to look at the entire application package. So we look at obviously the things that you've accomplished, right? So better grades help. Having some research experience might be beneficial. But one of the things that the admissions committee takes into account is whether you are an applicant who would really benefit from being part of PrEP, right? So if you are already an extremely strong applicant for a PhD program, you in fact might not get admitted into PrEP because we've got many fantastic applicants. And we're really trying to provide opportunities for students where we can see their talent. That talent's very clear within their application, but there may be specific aspects of their current record that might hinder their ability to get into the kinds of PhD programs that they would like to matriculate into. And so we think, for example, by offering the opportunity to take graduate level classes in Excel, that might benefit someone who had a couple of stumbles academically as an undergraduate. We might in fact give greater preference to that applicant versus someone who has, a fantastic 3.9 GPA in college, as well as significant research experience. So it's a very delicate balance between credentials and also us really sort of trying to deploy our resources where we can have the greatest impact and help the greatest number of students enter and succeed in graduate study.
And the same is for clinical and population health research. So we're looking for the same types of folks. We want to make sure that, we get the people we can really help.
Absolutely. One more eligibility question. And Vernon asked if the slides are available. I will email the recording where you see the slides, but if Brian or Kate wouldn't mind, I can also send out the slide deck if folks are looking for the file. If you complete a dual degree, if you have a bachelor's and a master's as part, like rolled into one by the time you graduate within those 36 months, are you still eligible?
Yes, you are.
And one more question before we roll into the breakout rooms. For the students and those in the breakout rooms, would you please ensure that you answer questions related to diversity in the Worcester area and the type of programming that we offer to support students of color? That's a great question for the breakout rooms. One more question for here. Would someone interested in attending an MD program be encouraged to apply for this program, or is it better for folks interested in a PhD?
So that's an excellent question and an important one. So our program takes students who are interested in PhD and also students interested in a combined MD PhD. For students who are interested in pursuing an MD only, this is probably not the best program, in large part because the way that this is structured, our program is probably not going to provide a lot of benefit to you in terms of enhancing your credentials to get into the highly competitive MD programs.
And for this year, we are still processing applications. You're welcome to continue or start if you can by the deadline, complete that application. The deadline is February 28th. Recommendation letters are due then. Reach out to me, Kamran, if you have a specific question about your letters of recommendation, but we do expect applications to be complete by the deadline of February 28th for consideration this fall. I don't want to take up too much time out of those great breakout sessions, so I just opened the breakout rooms. You will see there is one for BBS, the basic sciences, and one for CPHR. You, the attendees, have the ability to choose which breakout room you'd like to attend based on your interest. So please click on breakout rooms at the bottom of your Zoom menu bar and click the room that you'd like to join. Our representatives will follow. Thank you, everyone.